Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me your time. I'm very excited to talk about a technology that I think is very special. So, Prevo initially had spun out of MIT's Langer Lab. It was founded by Dr. Manisha Goldberg. The company mission statement is tough on cancer, easy on patients. I'm sure everyone in this room can empathize with some of the horrible side effects that traditional cancer treatment regimens will inflict on the body. More often than not, you will see patients succumb to the side effects of chemotherapy or radiotherapy, even if they end up dying cancer free. So, we developed a very exciting technology that's able to treat tumors locally rather than poisoning the entire body. I'm going to be talking about three assets that we have today: PRV-111, PRV-211, and PRV-131, all of which are in various stages of development. PRV-111 is a topically applied nano-engineered drug delivery system. We were able to take an old approved chemotherapeutic, cisplatin, some of you may know it. It's been around for 40 years, clinically validated. The problem with it is it's so toxic, it ends up causing severe nephrotoxicity and neurotoxicity whenever it's administered. It's currently the golden standard of care for patients with head and neck cancer. It's one of the most devastating cancers because the current clinical practice is surgery. And as I'm sure many of you can imagine, getting part of your face cut out is not going to make you a happy person. There's also a very high rate of recurrence with this disease, and we think we can seriously have an impact on that. What PRV-111 is it's a patch that's applied directly to tumors. The nanoparticles are released into the tumor, and they're able to be retained locally. What that does is it allows us to target the tumor while sparing the rest of the body. It is currently being evaluated in a phase 2/3 multi-site study in the United States. We have clinical data from a phase 1/2 trial that I'll be sharing with you in a minute. PRV-211 is a sterilized version of PRV-111, except instead of topical application, it's intended to be applied to tumor beds post-surgical resection. The thinking is we're able to eliminate micrometastatic disease and potentially increase disease-free survival. PRV-131 is currently in preclinical development. I'm very excited about this asset in particular. It's an intratumoral injection. We think we've been able to overcome a lot of the challenges that are traditionally associated with IT therapies, and I have some very interesting data to share on that as well. We're a company right now that's focused on treating head and neck cancers. It's our primary area of focus. However, this technology, because it delivers cisplatin, is able to be applied to various other oncologic indications. Right now, we're seeking partnerships and investor funding in order to help propel our development program forward. Up until this point, we have been funded almost exclusively by non-dilutive funding. We've raised over $25 million from the National Cancer Institute, the FDA, and the NIH. This is a little bit more on Prevo's development history. I won't spend too long on this slide. We received our IND in 2017. We completed our first clinical trial in 2020, published the results in Nature Communications in 2022, and right now we're in the process of testing PRV-111 in patients with early-stage oral cavity cancer in a phase 2/3 study. The goal of that is to eliminate disfiguring surgery for these patients. So I'm going to start by drawing your attention to the right slide, where we have results from our early clinical trial. The goal of that was to demonstrate that our patch was able to be safe and effective. We applied it in a neoadjuvant setting prior to standard of care surgery for these head and neck cancer patients. We were able to shrink tumors by about 70% in 1 week. There were no dose-limiting toxicities or systemic adverse events. The most common side effect experience was local pain that was able to be managed with over-the-counter painkillers. After we found out that that drug was safe and effective, we went back to our key opinion leaders and we wanted to figure out where we could make the biggest dent in the standard of care for these patients. Going after patients that had more advanced disease, like stage 1 and stage 2, as we did in the proof of concept trial, they still had to have their surgery, despite the fact that the tumor was smaller. So we went back and we wanted to know, is there a subset of these patients that we could modify the standard of care and give them a non-surgical alternative? So right now, we're testing the patch in patients that have oral high-grade dysplasia and carcinoma in situ in their mouth. While this may seem like a fairly innocuous form of the disease, it's an early stage, it's actually one of the nastiest. These patients usually have field cancerization that causes multiple concurrent lesions to pop up in their oral cavity, and each one of them necessitates a pretty nasty resection. Usually, there's about 1 centimeter to 1.5 centimeters of margin that's taken out from healthy tissue, including the tumor, and these patients are frequent flyers to the clinic. They will often have lesions come up every 6 to 12 months. It is a recurrent issue that does not have a cure at this point. We propose using our patch instead to offer a non-surgical alternative and eliminate that disfiguring surgery. Some of the pictures here on the left-hand side, you can see one of the patients from our study right now. We just started enrolling Q4 2024. This is one of our first data readouts. You can see here, pre-treatment, that white area that's highlighted in the yellow circle, that's the carcinoma in situ. After 2 PRV-111 treatments, the whole area is completely necrosed. This patient ended up having a pathologic complete response, which we're very excited about. They were able to avoid surgery based on the biopsy. A little bit on PRV-131. This is the intratumoral injection that I was mentioning earlier. It's very interesting because we've been able to test this in companion animals. Unlike mouse models, which people have been able to cure cancer in mice many times, I'm sure you all know that, testing in companion animals allows for a very accurate representation of the heterogeneity that is seen in human disease. We were able to take this intratumoral injection. The patients were on a regimen of 1 injection every 2 weeks for a total of 4 administrations. We were able to take animals that essentially were on death's door. We work with a veterinary oncologist in Texas, and he recommended animals to be enrolled in this trial who had no other option. The only choice was to have them euthanized. We were able to take tumors that were refractory to chemotherapy, immunotherapy, surgery, radiation, and eliminate them completely. You can see here I included some photos. On the top, there's a dog. We were able to have a complete clinical and pathologic response. That was a recurrent hemangiosarcoma resistant to cisplatin, which is what we deliver in PRV-131. We think because the concentration we deliver is so strong, high, and because we're able to retain it locally, we can overcome a lot of the challenges of drug resistance. As you can see on the bottom, this is a cat. His name was Beast. He had a metastatic melanoma on his cheek. I don't know if you can tell from the audience, but it's about the size of a kiwi. It is huge. We were able to eliminate that completely after 4 PRV-131 injections, and we're also treating a penguin at the Dallas-Fort Worth Zoo. He's one of the oldest African penguins in captivity. His name is Maury. He just celebrated his 31st birthday. They put him on our drug because no other therapies were able to cure his melanoma. Right now, he's doing very, very well. So with that, as I mentioned before, we're looking for funding to take our programs past the phase 2 run-in portion into the phase 3. If you guys are interested in learning more about it, you can come talk to me at my table. Thank you.